Welcome back to Hoochos. Today on Hoochos, I'm going to be releasing this. This is the Hooch multi-bucket hydroponic system. It is a multi-purpose bucket which can be oriented in many different ways depending on the style of hydroponic system that the user wants. In addition to the multi-bucket, I'll also be launching my website hydroland.com, but more on that towards the end of the video. Okay, so you might have to excuse me, I might get a little bit giddy here because this is the first time I've unboxed this product. As you can see, it's got the Hydroland logo as well as the Hooch logo. This is a 12 bucket box. Enough talking, let's get to opening it. I've only seen the prototype and this is my first ever encounter with the final product. This is kind of surreal. We've got a few bundles of legs and the buckets. So they do stand up on their own without the legs. That's good. This is it. Hang on, let me just take it in for a second because I actually want to experience this. These are lovely. I deal with so many 3D printed products that like having such a nice, smooth, finished product in my hand that's like really sturdy. And have a look at that. The Hooch multi-bucket hydroponic system. How good. I'm really happy. This is great. I'll send a photo to my mates. Let's assemble them. Here we have the legs, and they are designed to fit multiple different gutter sizes. The smaller American gutter size, the larger American gutter size. What you can't see here is on the external side, there are two alternate sizes. So let's assemble it. And there is our Hooch multi-bucket. Really simple stuff. So here I have set up the two leg orientations, and this allows us to get two different bucket heights as well as four different profiles on the side. So here you can see we have the large American profile, which just fits over the larger American rain gutter. And alternatively, we have the smaller profile, which will fit the smaller PVC downpipe, which is also available in America. If we then rotate these buckets, we get two extra profiles, the smaller of which will fit over the Australian standard. So this single product will cover most of the world's demand for it. So not only does that make it extremely efficient manufacturing wise, but it also makes it extremely sustainable because we're not having to make multiple products for multiple markets. So the multi-bucket is actually made of an impact resistant polypropylene, PP5. It's a virgin, food safe plastic that is also recyclable. They are UV resistant and they are extremely sturdy. Not only should these last for a long time, but they are recyclable if you do want to dispose of them in a sustainable way. I've wanted to do this for a while actually. This is probably really silly. Okay, I just want to do it carefully to start with. How good. So they're actually pretty sturdy, like really sturdy. I weigh about 87, I think. Pretty happy with that. Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'm gonna set up a few of these buckets and we can plant out the first crop that I'm gonna put into it. Okay, so with the multi-bucket, we're actually gonna need some 2-inch net cups. Now the reason that the buckets don't come with the net cups in the box is because the net cup's depth will actually be determined by the style of gutter you're using. If you're using the Australian gutter, you'll need net cups this size. If you're using the American gutter, you'll need a deeper net cup. There will be a few different kits available depending on the pipe that you plan on using. This just cuts down on plastic waste. If we ship them all with the same size net cup, the people with deeper channels would have to purchase deeper net cups as well. It allows us to reduce the cost of the bucket and everyone can add on the net cup style that they require. So your net cup will literally just slide into the bottom and fit within the recess that is at the bottom of the hooch bucket. So it just sits in there like so and hangs down below the bucket. From here, we can fill our bucket. You can use any grow media you like. If you're going to be top feeding, you can use a non-wicking grow media like hydrogen or perlite. But if you're wicking, you'll need to use a wicking media. You can definitely use a soil media in this, just amended with peat moss, or you can use a purely hydroponic media. The difference being one would be fed with water and the hydroponic media would have to be fed with hydroponic nutrient. The wicking hydroponic media that I would recommend is cocoa perlite, a 60-40 mix of cocoa perlite, which is what I've got here. So this is a 60-40 cocoa perlite, and I'm just going to fill the bucket. I want to make sure that the net cup is full of our cocoa perlite mix, like so. And I'm going to fill it mostly, not completely though, because I actually want to leave some room for the plants that we're going to put in, which are, so I am cheating a little bit here because I'm using store-bought strawberries. Interestingly, the media that they're in, it's a cocoa substrate. These are likely hydroponic strawberries anyway, which is quite interesting. And we can just place that directly into our multi-bucket. Fill around with our cocoa perlite mix, like so. And make sure you utilize the entire height of the bucket. You want to get as much media as possible into the space that we have. There is the first ever planting of a hooch multi-bucket. Let's get to planting the rest. How good. Now we can water them in and set up the system that they're going to live within. For the rain gutter grow system underneath the hooch multi-bucket, we're going to be using this. This is Australian 50 by 100 PVC downpipe. However, you can use whatever downpipe is available to you in your area because it is a multi-bucket. It multi-adapts to the different sizes. The only thing that you need for a full-size gutter is a hairdryer and a hole saw. A hole saw kit preferably because it's going to give you different sizes, and a drill to drill out those holes. Now this section of rain gutter has already been prepared with 3D prints, and you can use 3D prints if you have a 3D printer. I'm going to cut this down and completely assemble it without 3D prints. And now we want to figure out our spacing for our plants and where the float is going to be inserted into the system. So we really want to give our plants some room to breathe, to drop fruit over the side as well. So I'm going to have them about 30 centimeters or 12 inches apart. When you're drilling out these holes, go larger than the 2 inches that the net cup is. So this is a 2-inch drill bit, and I've gone up to, this is a 64 millimeter drill bit, so 2.5 inches. What I'm doing here is I'm actually leaving room for error, because if you have a 2-inch net cup and you don't get it dead center, the hole that is dead center won't line up. And it also means that when you're inserting and pulling out the roots that are formed, you're not going to shear them off. In theory, you can have a hole as big as the gutter itself. So let's just drill out where we've marked our holes. Start in forward, end in reverse. And if you end in reverse, it doesn't get stuck in your drill bit. So I've drilled out my channel, and this is what our multi-buckets are going to look like. We've got some nice spacing between them. We're going to have airflow. We're going to allow the fruit to drop down over the edge, and we're going to give the roots some space to move down the gutter without too much competition. So you can use a hairdryer. As you can see, I don't use a hairdryer, so I don't have a hairdryer. So I'm just going to heat the end and then bend it up. I'm trying to do it without clamps because I'm trying to minimize the amount of tools that we need. So ow, 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 ow. If you've got clamps, I preferred the clamps. You can see I've pushed the base up and then used the top to fold and hold it in place, which is interesting. It's almost like a Christmas present. So you can see there, Pretty cool. Yeah, and that'll be completely watertight. And there's no need for any silicone or anything. It's just wrapped up. You can see that at one end, I've got a larger area. And the reason for that is my multi-bucket is going to sit here, and this is space for this. This is a vertical float valve. And this is going to give us a method of refilling our reservoir that doesn't let any light in to the top and doesn't require a cover. So the way that these work is within this, there is a float, and the float moves up and down. Water comes in from the top and then is released out this hole here. The way that we're going to make this work for us is on top we're going to have a 13mm barb. The water and nutrient will enter through the barb and into the float. The float valve will turn on and off depending on how much water there is in the reservoir. If the water drops, the water and nutrient will be let through the float valve, out another 13mm barb, like so. Drilled 2 holes, one matching the float valve and one matching the barb, and that gives us a really neat little float valve device that leaves our reservoir completely out of the sun. These float valves are 2 inches, which is actually the same size as the net cups. A 2-inch hole saw, that drops into our reservoir, and we just need to drill another hole here for our barb. So I've just got a step drill here, gradually step that hole down until I've got a nice tight fit. It just sits in place like so. And that is the float valve installed. Now, all of these fittings are available from Hydroland as well. Okay, so now our float valve is set up, our system's set up, and our buckets are all set up. We can set up the reservoir. Okay, so what I've got here is a reservoir, which has actually got a 3D printable bulkhead on it, and that is a quick connect 3D printable bulkhead. So the 3D prints are all available on my Patreon. However, by this time, there will actually be a physical version available on the website as well. And if you are a 3D printer, the nipples, the 1/4-inch O-rings for this 3D print is also available on the website in packs, so that you don't have to rob all of your hose fittings for those O-rings. Okay, now I'm going to connect up my reservoir. Because the 3D print doesn't have a tap, because it's almost impossible to 3D print a tap, I'm gonna add in a tap to just after the connection. So our tap will clip onto our 3D print neatly like so. And I can use a section of hose to connect our tap to our rain gutter. What's going on here? And that is going to allow us to gravity feed from our reservoir down to our channel. I'm going to leave the tap turned off, and I'm going to fill the reservoir, and we can mix our nutrients. 90% sure this is a 60-litre reservoir, so I'm going to mix 60 litres worth of nutrient, which is 60 grams of the Diamond Spec Tea and the NitroCal. And you guessed it, it's available on Hydroland. So you don't have to buy 25 kilo bags anymore. You can buy increments. I believe the smallest one is a kilo. In the future, I'll be expanding that range out to diamond white, maybe diamond blue, so that you can cater to your different plant types and buy smaller quantities. All right, I'm gonna grab those nutrients and mix them into hot water, and my pH adjuster, which you guessed it, is on the Hydroland website. I almost walked away from this. That would have definitely overflowed on me. It's nearly full, like it's up to here. That would have been disastrous. Good YouTube though. The scientific literature actually says strawberries are about 1.5 EC. I'm gonna go full strength. Okay, so let me walk you through what I've got here. This is potassium carbonate. It is essentially the pH up that you would get in a liquid, but it is in granular form, and that makes it way cheaper, just like our granular nutrients. So This is at a rate of 1 gram per 100 liters to take your pH up a factor. And that means that for this 60 liters, I'm using about 0.6 of a gram. This is going to adjust my pH up to where I know it needs to be. You'll have to find that out yourself depending on your water and your nutrients. So I'm gonna add in my pH adjuster first, dilute it in hot water, and I'm gonna add it in. Now I know that some people might need to adjust their pH down. We have a similar adjuster available to adjust your water down. And it's also cheaper than your general hydroponics brands. And I'm just gonna mix that in. Okay, the next ingredient. This is calcium nitrate. So I'm gonna add hot water into this as well. And while I'm waiting for that to dissolve, I have the Diamond Spec tea as well. I really should have used clear cups. Sorry about that. They're both white powders anyway. And I'm gonna mix that up. And once you've got them fully dissolved, you're just gonna add them into the reservoir. So I actually added in 50 grams. I'm not 100% sure on this reservoir, so I want to be able to add in if I need to, rather than you can't really take it out. And you're gonna love me. Yes, there are pH and EC readers available on the new website as well. Not this one. We've tried to find ones that are good value, that are affordable. This is like a $400 device. We've got decent quality, affordable pH and EC readers on the website. So the pH here is 5.9 or 6, and the EC 2.0. Ah, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. All right, the moment of truth, because this is actually the first time, I've used these flow valves before and they're great, but it's the first time I've used it in this orientation, in this configuration. All right, let's turn it on. We're filling fast. That is a good sign. Okay, let me just pull it out. That's how it operates. The float allows the water to go in the top and then out. We've got just over half of our rain gutter full, and that is actually just perfect. This is a great little setup, and I've been working on it in my head for ages, and because I wanted to get away from those ball floats, because they just take up so much area and they can accumulate so much algae in them because they need so much working room. And this, you could even have this up close and save a bunch of rain gutter as well. And we can place our Hooch multi-buckets over it. I'm excited, I don't know about you guys. There it is. How good. This is actually gonna be all wet, probably in about 15 minutes. And in the meantime, I can set up their light, which is going to be the micro array. I'm actually splitting them up, and I'll show you why. The footprint of these is actually better serviced if I split these arrays into 2 separate pieces. And I love the modularity of this light. And there it is. The array is set up above our strawberries, and we can turn on the light and test our par. Hooch times micro, double YouTube. This is exciting. This is very, very exciting. The Ohio State University website, that is one of the leaders on berry production, says they only need 200 micromoles of par. That is 200 micromoles. That must mean that this light is turned way down. Let's have a look. That's 200. It goes up to 900 and, I don't know if you can see that, 960. I'm gonna give them 300. We're dialing it up a little bit for everything. I'll have a look at how they're dealing with it tomorrow. All right, it's time to set up the time-lapse camera. So the strawberries were going really well, and this was actually the first of 2 time lapses that I've done, and you'll see why in just a second. The strawberries were gaining vegetative growth really fast, and as you can see, there's some flowers as well, until the spider mites. And they were prolific. They just showed up overnight. In the time lapse, you can see that I quarantined 2 of the plants and treated them, but it was too late. They had just been overrun and I needed to get them out of the studio. So I removed all of the strawberry plants and disinfected the area. But it gave me the opportunity to start from a less advanced stage with the plants, and I was grateful for that because I wanted to test the buckets on a full grow. So I set up some new buckets with cocoa, just a pure hydroponic grade of cocoa with scoria over the top, and in those buckets we have micro tomatoes and chilies. I laid out the buckets over the top of the newly refreshed system and restarted the time-lapse cameras. And this is the result. Wow, I really need to learn how to train my plants. For now though, I'm actually quite excited by how healthy these plants are. There are no nutrient deficiencies, both the micro tomatoes and the chilies, and we even have fruit set on the chilies. As you can see here, the sheer volume of foliage is actually incredible. I'm actually going to prune these back now and encourage bushier plants, but let's have a look at the root system that's formed in the buckets. So let's lift up our bucket and see what the roots look like. There we go. So you can see there, while the roots are exploring the channel, and we have got roots in our channel, most of the roots are actually within the bucket, and that's good. That is what we want. We don't want them to be exclusively in the channel or exclusively in the bucket, but a nice dual root zone is what you can achieve with these buckets. Now let's have a look at the roots. And as you can see, it's extremely easy to move plants around because you can pick up your hooch bucket, move it from system to system, indoors, outdoors, and because of the legs, the net pot doesn't interfere with your putting the bucket down. Okay, so these buckets were fully cocoa with a layer of scoria over the top, just to keep the light off the cocoa, and as you can see, we've got a nice dry top layer. As you can see here, I've staked up the plants with a stake going straight down the middle and into the net cup. So I'm just going to let all that scoria fall off the top, and you can see the roots traveling through that cocoa. And this is just going to pop out like so. And that is a lovely root ball. You can see the contours of the bucket, and we have a really consistent delivery of nutrients throughout the whole of our grow media. This is exactly what I wanted. This is perfect. You can see that we've got an adequate amount of media without there being excess waste, and we've got the plants exploring into the nutrient solution below, as well as the nutrient solution being delivered perfectly evenly to our media and root ball. This is a great result. Our bucket has come out pretty much clean, and we can just pop that back into the bucket now that we've seen it. Put our scoria back on top. And that is the Hooch multi-bucket hydroponic system. So these are available on my website, hydroland.com.au, which is a collaboration between myself and Kegland. So thank you to the boys over at Kegland. We have lots more than just the Hooch buckets. We've been leveraging the buying power of Kegland so that we can provide the best value hydroponic equipment and supplies to you guys. You'll find the cheapest Campbell's Diamond Spec T that you can find on the web, and the price to your door is equivalent to the price that you can buy it in store. We've also broken down the quantities into smaller amounts, so 1 kilogram lots, for instance, so that you don't have to go and buy 25,000 litres worth of nutrient. You can buy 1,000 litres, which is a kilogram of nutrient at a time. So what you see on that website is the range at the moment, but we are expanding that range. For example, we have a good value pH pen, but no good value EC pen at this point in time. And we're working on new designs to bring you new and novel concept hydroponic systems at a reasonable price. We are at this point in time looking for international distributors. This is all available immediately to Australian addresses, and we plan on bringing you the Hooch multi-bucket in the very near future to anyone overseas as soon as we nail down those distributors. Happy hydroponicking, and I'll see you next time on Hoochos.